the Todd father and myself were both on Saturday up in Westfield for the tournament or the basketball action that was going on up there. It was not a tournament. It was just a showcase. But there was a lot happening there, Todd. Besides Indiana Elite, Micah Shrewsbury's kid were there playing. So he got to be there, which is unusual because this is a dead period.
Right.
Where coaches can't go, but he has a legitimate, reason to be there. Not you can't recruit, but it's always nice to be in the same building with someone of your top recruits and just give them a wave or whatever. But yeah, it's not the same. But there was a lot going on, a lot of good basketball, a lot of good basketball players, and then of course Indiana Elite is who we watched most with Braylon Mullins, Trent Sisley, and Malachi Moreno, all of which are different players, different position players, bring differences to their games. But getting to see them live and in person was good. Also, I want to mention saw Xavier Robinson. I did not get to meet him. Did get to meet his dad, which was great. I know that that group, and you got to talk to Mr. Robinson as well.
Yeah, it was a great weekend to be able to see local talent and then the guys that you're talking about. Malachi Moreno kid is unbelievable. But yeah, overall it was really good basketball. Like those teams, AAU has progressed throughout the years and they're smarter about how they do things and how many games you end up playing and that stuff. But they're also well coached. I mean, they're putting more money into these things where the coaches are a little higher quality than just dads like it used to be, 15 or 20 years ago. So it was good basketball. I don't know if we're specifically singling out any players, but the surprise of the tournament for me was Braylon Mullins. Like, I knew he was good. I knew he has a reputation of a shooter, but he's more than just a shooter. Like he's taller than I thought he was, more athletic than I had understood that he was. And yeah, he can definitely shoot it, but he brings more to the table than he's got a toughness. He's kind of got a little bit of a gritty it factor. That's, I think you kind of only see that when you watch them play live a couple times and, you see what kind of player they are. But yeah, I thought Braylon Mullins stood out to me as the surprise for me.
I agree. Because I hate to say this, I said this to him, but it's meant as a compliment. But when you look at him, he's not physically imposing. He's still just like any high school kid. Hell, like I was. Hell, he's in better shape than I was. But need to grow as far as putting some strength on. But man, he's still already above other players around him. His length. His ability to do things, control the basketball, control what's going on. That he's got some talent, man. He really, really does. And of course, they all do. Like I said, different toolboxes. Trent was battling in the paint. He scored in double digits, I think, in every game. Trent Sisley, and it was a mix. His was a mix of points in the paint and 3-pointers. I know he's either, I think, the last game or the second to last game. He had 3 threes in addition to his paint points. So inside outside game, which is great, what you want to see. And then you mentioned Malachi Moreno. Dude is a human eraser. I almost laugh at some. I was going back and watching some of the videos, and but it's not just the blocks; it's the altered shots he causes. And I remember seeing one guy come in and you can just tell he's like, oh no, I'm not even going to try this. And he starts looking around for a pass to someone to pass to immediately. He affects the game, man. He's a 7-footer, but he is also very athletic. I saw him bring the ball up the floor a lot, and he's developing a 3-point shot. He is going to be a dangerous weapon.
Yeah, he is. He's huge for one. But it's like you kind of get this mental picture, and it might just be me. but it also might not be. Like when you say, or you hear someone describe him as a human eraser, I kind of picture a shot blocker that's just big and huge and not all that skilled. And that's just my perception of when someone says that. If that's the first thing someone says about a player, they generally are less skilled, I guess I should say. But that's not the case with this guy. And you're right. Like, he altered every shot that came into the lane when he was in there. But he also did so many, like, he runs the floor. He can play out on the wing a little bit. Of those guys, there's a lot of guys who are big like that you kind of have to try to figure out how they're going to fit into the NBA someday down the road. Not this guy. Like, he where he's going to fit in, and he's already got some skill to score from the outside. I doubt they'll use a ton of that. Like, I don't think he'll end up being a huge 3-point shooter in college, but he's capable of doing it. And yeah, you're right. Like, he ran the floor well. I saw him handle the ball. He dribbled all the way down the floor and dunked on 3 guys at once. Like, he has all the tools. He's a program changer. Like, there's at this point right now, I would say Braylon Mullins. I actually was thinking it while I was watching him, so I was trying to compare some of the things he was doing. And yes, I understand this is kind of a ridiculous statement because of their age differences, but he's very similar to Dalton Connect, just a much skinnier version of Dalton Connect right now. So if you took Dalton Connect, 5 years ago, and you're roughly the same age as what Braylon Mullins is now, you see a lot of that Dalton Connect in him, and that's obviously a good thing to have. Dalton Connect took the world by storm this year in college basketball, and this kid's Braylon Mullins is a lot like him.
Yeah, and it probably won't take him as long to do that, but that partly could be because of a better opportunity that comes along for him sooner to do that, because that he is going to get that opportunity wherever he lands. I think Indiana is in extraordinarily good position on him to get him. Whether they can get all 3 of these guys, I don't know. Moreno is going to have visits, he told me, to Arkansas and Kentucky. He's from Georgetown, Kentucky, which, if you're not familiar with that, is right next to Lexington, basically. Yeah. So he's a Lexington kid, but I don't know that he is attached to that. Obviously, he's playing AAU ball in Indiana with a group of guys from Indiana. They have a bond. And I'll try to get John to find a clip from Braylon Mullins where I asked him about the potential of all 3 at the same school, which that stuff never happens. It's always a pipe dream for fans, but there's a shot at this one. How good a shot, we'll find out once it happens. But because 2 of the players are being pulled in different directions, I think Mullins is really the closest to being, there's no for sure thing, but his highest percentage is probably to Indiana, in my opinion, but that is an opinion only. And then you've got Moreno, like I said, who is going to get pulled with a little Kentucky pull, and Arkansas now, the Calipari being down there. Trent Sisley, of course, being a big IU recruit, but also Purdue is working hard to land him. So that if they could get all 3 of those, that would be a nice little mix of talent to bring in, because you're bringing in 3 different type players.
Totally. Like, you are correct. And honestly, I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often, that more groups of players like that you could tell those 3 guys enjoyed playing together. They looked for each other. They had an overall very unselfish team for an AAU team. So yeah, I get what you're saying with that. It would be awesome. It's fun to watch those guys play together. And the idea of possibly them all going to one school, but it just different guys. This is the one thing that I do appreciate about, that situation not happening all that often is a lot of these kids evaluate the situation that's best for them. And the possibility of Indiana needing, or Kentucky needing, or Purdue needing, a big guy, shooting forward wing, and another wing in Sicily, all at the same time, where they're all going to step right in and play right away. Because that's really what these kids. Yes, I know the NIL is a huge part of it, like probably at least 50% part of the decision now. But the other vast majority of that decision is based off of how they're going to fit and early playing time. None of these guys are planning on going to a school and not having an immediate impact. And so it's hard to have those openings all at one school at one time. So that's why I think that doesn't happen as much as.
And not only that, and now I think, and it might be even a bigger point, is that most teams are probably not going to be bringing in more than 3 recruits. I don't think that they should. I think that should be the mark. You're not going to want to bring in more than 3 freshmen, because you're either going to have a team with a core already in place, and you're not going to want to replace, and then whoever departs, and there are always going to be departures now we see from whatever team we're talking about, but you're going to want to go into the portal and replace that with experience and guys that have just made a jump and the best talent you can. So the days of, and I'm just using Purdue as an example, they're bringing in 6 freshmen next year. That's going to catch up to Matt Painter. He's going to have to adapt to the portal a little sooner, I think. Hence why Mason Gillis was, people keep saying, well, Purdue fans say he wasn't pushed out. Yeah, he was. There was not room for him. There was not room for Ethan Morton. Ethan Morton was not that big of a loss, but losing Mason Gillis to me is a loss to them. You see where he landed at Duke, but he was their 4th best free throw or 3-point shooter, and he made more threes than Braden Smith did. So you're not going to purposely get rid of a guy like that normally.
Yeah. And hey, look, like it's an adjustment. Like I know you say, and I'm not dissecting how you said it, but I mean, like, I know you say Matt Painter is going to have to adjust, and that might be true. It might not be true. Like, we don't know that. Like, his system's different. I think we all do agree. Painter handles these situations differently. They're more into the long-term development of guys, which in turn takes them out of recruiting some of the higher-rated players across the country, because they're wanting to come in and make an immediate impact and be there right away. And look, I spoke with an assistant coach at a Power 5 school that I'm friends with that they actually said, look, if it's a high school kid and he's not rated in the top 50, he's better off to go to a smaller school where he can make a big impact and then transfer in somewhere. That they are not. Power 5 schools are looking at high school kids that are not in the top 50 as almost a last resort. We'll take them if we don't do what we want to do in the portal. And any experience at the college level is kind of trumping right now. Kids that are rated in that, I'll say 75 to 200 range of that's still very highly rated. There's an enormous amount of great players that have come from that range of ratings over the years, and they're just not going to get the opportunity. They're going to have to go to a smaller school and prove themselves, and that's the way college basketball is now.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and thank you for enjoying our content and videos. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notifications toggle so you don't miss out on anything, whether it's Indiana Hoosiers, the Boilers, the Colts, the Pacers, Indiana high school action, whatever's happening in sports. We're trying to bring it all to you, and make sure you don't miss out on a thing. Again, hit the subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.